Hello and welcome to episode 204 of Retro Encounter, RPG Fans' weekly podcast of many topics. I'm Mike Sollosi, and I'm joined here for a second go-round of recording we had originally attempted 2 weeks ago. But accompanying me for this remixed adventure is Stephanie Sybydlo.
Hi!
Peter Triezenberg.
Hello, everybody.
And Audra Bowling.
Hi!
So, ladies and gentlemen, a while ago we tried to record an episode about the Nintendo DS, but due to audio issues on my part, we had to abandon that recording. So here is our second attempt to talk about the Nintendo DS, which, slightly shockingly to me, is the second most successful console of all time?
And you know what they say, third time's a charm on recording things.
Third time? No, that means we gotta try again in another 2 weeks.
Oh no!
Don't jinx it.
Okay, but back to the DS. That thing sold over 150 million copies. It's Nintendo's most successful console ever, and it had a lot of really good JRPGs and visual novel-esque games. So today we're just gonna run through a list of our favorite DS games and discuss them a little bit. We've done similar episodes in the past on the GameCube, Super Nintendo, and Dreamcast. But we're going to mostly focus on RPGs in particular, otherwise I will spend way too long talking about New Super Mario Brothers. So, Audra, what's the first thing on our sort of grand list here that you think we should discuss?
Ooh, probably the Final Fantasy games, the 3 and 4 DS remakes, and is it 4 Heroes of Light?
Yeah, 4 Heroes of Light, or aka Bravely Zero.
Yeah, 4 Heroes of Light was made by the team that worked on Bravely Default and Bravely Second, and it's a pretty good version of the Final Fantasy class system. But I've only played the very beginning of it. Peter, you played through the whole thing though, right?
Yeah, it's really cute. It's a bit more of a throwback to like the original Final Fantasy and like the NES era ones than it is if Bravely Default's going more for the 1632-bit style. But yeah, it's really good. It's very difficult. You're gonna have to do some grinding. The dungeons are pretty labyrinthine. They do the big boss rush thing at the end that kind of drove me crazy. But the character art is really cute. It's got a really bopping soundtrack with this great little chiptune arrangements. The boss theme in particular is like one of my favorite video game songs ever. Yeah, in general, I think 4 Heroes of Light was just one of those little like hidden gems on the DS. I really enjoyed it, and glad they kept making more.
Pretty late then, didn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty late in the DS's life cycle, I think.
The effects were really nice. Like just in general, I really liked the like low poly Nintendo DS 3D, and that game really looked pretty for that.
Yeah, they were going for this like pop-up book aesthetic, and I think it worked pretty well.
Yeah. The character models are pretty cute in that game. But, I mean, for me, the draw was really the class system. Peter, I think we mentioned this either in the previous recording or off-air, but 4 Heroes of Light sort of feels like Final Fantasy 3, and Bravely Default feels kind of like Final Fantasy 5 in terms of the sophistication of the class system. But
in 4 Heroes of Light, you switch out their hats.
Yeah, it's the crown system officially. I think there's even like a monarch class where you get to be a king or something. That's
pretty neat.
Yeah, it's a very cute.
It's good to be the king.
Yeah, it's a very cute way of handling that. It's good to be the king.
I just can't wait to be king.
Is there a piss boy class in Final Fantasy IV Heroes of Light?
A what?
Okay, I guess you're not understanding the History of the World Part 1 reference that Audra and I were making. Okay.
Did you say piss boy?
Yeah. Haven't you seen?
Oh my god, no.
You haven't seen History of the World Part 1?
I have not.
They're gonna resist and execute the king, and the king realizes he looks just like his piss boy, so they switch roles, Prince and the Pauper style. You don't understand a piss boy. Come on. I'm definitely cutting that out of the podcast now.
No, please don't.
But yeah, 4 Heroes of Light. I didn't finish it. I did get to the plot point where where it briefly turns into Persona 5, and you have to enter someone's soul to destroy the evil within it, but and it sort of backfires. That was an interesting story element, but I barely remember anything else from that game. I don't think it had as much personality as Bravely Default, as much as we can hate on characters like Ring a Bell and Agnes, but I
think you told me that the one thing they carried over was just the merchant, right?
Yeah, there's the merchant. The merchant character is in Bravely and 4 Heroes of Light, and he's like a super boss in in Bravely at one point, I think.
I think he's a super boss in 4 Heroes too.
Maybe he's
that's
a
become
super
kind of a
boss.
series tradition.
Yeah, maybe he's a super boss in all of them. But Four Heroes of Light is a standalone game that borrows a lot of Final Fantasy ideas, but it's not a straight-up Final Fantasy game, unlike 3 and 4, which had remakes on the DS. And that Final Fantasy 3 DS remake was the first time officially North America and Europe got that game, although I tried and mostly failed to play an NES emulation version of that in the early 2000s. But yeah, it's rough. But in the remake, they give the characters actual names and personalities. It's just 4 onion kids in FF3 NES.
They made them like full-fledged characters in the DS one.
In different areas and everything.
So their designs are very contemporary looking too.
Yeah,
I remember being so impressed by the dual screen opening at the start of it.
Oh yeah, that opening rocks.
I watched it every time. Yeah, I was just so amazed.
I love the opening.
Yeah, there's a lot of good music in Final Fantasy 3.
That one's really underrated, actually.
There's that what is it? It's like Melody of Wind or something. The Overworld theme.
Eternal Wind or
Eternal Wind. Yeah, that's it. That's a really, really good Final Fantasy song.
It was really, really nice to have a chance to play that on the DS. I know was it ever released here previously? I don't think so, right?
No, it was not.
No.
Mm-hmm.
That was Japan only. And they actually did give the script like a lot of flavor that wasn't there before. I remember the only thing I really, really hated about it was the dungeons because they were big, long, and very, very, very difficult sometimes.
Yeah, the final dungeon could be pretty tricky.
They were mean.
You mean the trio of final dungeons with 5 bosses at the very end and I think 1 boss near the middle.
There's some games that really love to punish you, and definitely a lot of NES games were part of that.
It's a bit of a Dragon Quest II moment where just the end game slog is a little bit much, and it's probably because it's adapted from a NES game, and people want hard games, but they don't want NES hard most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the difficulty seemed reasonable. They made they retained a lot of stuff from the NES Final Fantasy 3, especially like the weird multi-hitting stuff that FF1, 2, and 3 did. But and they also retained the weird MP system where you basically just have a separate MP bar for each tier of magic instead of an HP MP straight up.
Yeah, you have like charges for spells.
And they also did one thing that I'm glad they've gotten rid of. Whenever you change classes in Final Fantasy 3, there's a period of getting used to your new class where you have reduced stats and reduced MP for a few battles.
Yeah, it's like
I remember that.
I like the realism of it, but in practice, that sounds awful.
In practice, you instantly want to go back to the FF5, FF Tactics, just change your job kind of system.
Yeah, it's like
Leave me alone. Let me change my job.
It's almost like a summon sickness mechanic in a card game. It's just kind of dumb.
Mm-hmm. But what they do with the new storyline is pretty good. They sort of rewrote different segments of the plot to maybe give like one of your 4 party members more dialogue than usual or something. They take the new characterization and the adjusted plot reasonably seriously, and it's an enjoyable game. I think the only really part where you suffer is maybe the end game dungeons and some of the online mechanics, because there's like DS near field technology that was like an early version of street passing that you could do for some post game stuff, and that I don't know if it'll work anymore since the DS servers are down, but that wasn't great in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bunch of Iron Giant stuff to get the best weapon for every job.
Oh god.
And onion super equipment, I think, is also, you can also get that way.
Oh yeah.
But
I did not do that.
They made the onion class it is the best one, right?
Sort of. No. The onion class is your starting class. It's the freelancer class. But the at the very, very end game dungeon, and I think maybe with some online means, you can get onion equipment, which is the strongest equipment in the game by an enormous margin. But only onion kids can equip it.
Oh, I see. So it's sort of default. Okay.
And I
get that.
I think they might have.
I gave up the game in that final gauntlet.
And when they bring back on the Onion Kid job in other games, it's always something like that. It's like they suck, but Onion equipment's great. Or I think in Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions, it's like a really, really terrible job, but if you level it up all the way, it goes from having terrible stats to amazing stats. It's a mechanic like that, where it's a super
I do
job.
like the design of them too.
Yeah, I love the little onion helmet with the onion bulb coming out of it.
It was always weird was that I always thought it was weird that like the Final Fantasy 3 DS crew never got any representation in Dissidia. So instead they just did the Onion Knight, like who was just like,
well, because they're. I mean, didn't that game come out before? No.
Dissidia came out like 2 years later.
Yeah, so instead of making it Luneth or whatever, they just went straight with the original NES and just went Onion Kid. Kind of like having Warrior of Light from FF1.
Right, but it's still just kind of funny because like okay, Warrior of Light, okay, sure, whatever, fine. But then you have Garland is his counterpart, but then they brought in the Onion Knight and Cloud of Darkness, and they basically just made Cloud of Darkness a big titty goth girlfriend.
I mean, but both of those are true to their NES versions, so it's not
That's
like
true.
It's not like they're being inappropriate. It's just
I know it's just funny in hindsight. I think
they did make Luneth like his coloring.
Well,
they based on his coloring. Okay.
Well, maybe because in the original NES version, the three Onion Kids do have different colorizations when they're in their Onion class. So it might I don't know. But in Dissidia, they did have a bunch of different costume options for every character. So they could have put in Luneth or a different NES color scheme. I'm not sure.
I would say Rifia did get a World of Final Fantasy cameo. I thought that was cute.
Yeah, I liked her in that.
So it's like they pick and choose what canon they're paying attention to.
Yeah, sort of, and they're just ignoring the FF3 canon outside after 1990.
It's sort of funny how like Final Fantasy IV, like the PSP one and the DS one, kind of differ on that as well.
Yeah,
they must feel like two separate versions, really.
Yeah, they really are. The FF4 PSP version was just a cleaner version of the GBA remake. Basically, it was still the same pixel graphics with maybe an extra dungeon or extra content here and there. But in FF4 DS, it's a whole different game. That whole what were they called? It wasn't called junctions, but they had a system where you could equip
augments.
Yeah, augments.
Yeah, augments.
Yeah,
you could equip abilities to your characters, and when characters leave their party, sometimes they would leave back behind their augments, so you could give like monk abilities to anyone if you equip Yang with some augments before he leaves permanently. And it doesn't have any of the stuff from the GBA remake, like none of the new mount ordeals stuff and none of the post game. But
it does have a couple new optional bosses that are all its own, which it's funny because neither version of 4 is really definitive.
Yeah.
Like the 4 on PSP, I think, is probably the closest to the original version. But
the sort of big sprites on that are so pretty too.
Mm-hmm.
All that PSP stuff that they released, not to throw shade when we're talking about the DS stuff, but they did a really good job with the PSP.
No,
they did a good job with both of them, actually.
Yeah, they're both great games.
Some of the they enhanced the drama of a lot of the DS moments with the active cutscenes.
I love once again, I gotta give props. The CG intro in 4DS is amazing.
So
it's one of my
good.
favorites.
I love that one.
And the main character art outside of the game is really stunning. It's like amazing looking versions of like Cecil, Rosa, Rydia. But Steph, you're mentioning the added drama to the scenes. They really go hard on the camera in the FF4 remake.
Yeah.
Like when Kane's brooding, it'll have the camera sort of like rise up on him, and it makes the transformation scene from Cecil from Dark Knight to Paladin maybe even more powerful. And the voice acting is surprisingly robust in it.
Which I like. I think
it's not everywhere.
4 is like the first really dramatic game. Like they really push the story hard in that one. The other ones are kind of more your standard save the world fare, but this feels more like a character drama. FF2 tried, but it didn't really succeed while FF4 did. I think
the intro to Golbez in the DS version is really cool, just in how it uses different camera tricks like Dutch angles and crap. It's fun.
Just use Dutch angles, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how they really attempted to do a fully 3D cinematic version of FF4, and
so like the voice actors really got to flex when they're working with the low poly models.
Yeah,
Liam O'Brien, my boy.
Yeah.
The one other thing I remember from the FF4 DS version is the difficulty can get pretty high, especially if you set the speed high, because basically the speed setting affects enemy actions and your own meter. So if you set the speed to the highest setting to save time, like I was, then enemies in the final dungeon will be like doing attack all murder moves like every few seconds. So I played the game at the highest speed setting for most of the game, but at the Paths of the Core, I went back to a medium setting. You can really ratchet up the difficulty that way.
Yeah, it's rough.
Just by speed, yeah. That one was pretty hard too, I remember. The early Final Fantasy games were pretty tough.
Yeah, I remember the Moon having a lot of hard difficulty.
Yeah, maybe it's good. I don't think of it as hard anymore, maybe because I've played FF4 so many times, but I just remember like the speed setting really affecting it, at least in the DS version. Maybe also in the other versions, but that's where I remember it most closely. But anyway, that's enough Final Fantasy talk. Let's talk about the same thing I went 90 minutes on last week. Dragon Quest the
DS was a really kind to the Dragon Quest series.
Yeah.
And we even got it too. We got a few that we didn't get before, didn't we?
Yeah, we had never gotten 5 or 6 before. I say we as in North America and Europe, the whole non-Japan English-speaking world. The DS versions of 5 and 6 were the first time they had international releases. And we also had Dragon Quest 4 as a re-release, Dragon Quest 9 as an original release, at least one Dragon Quest Monsters game, and also at least one other spin-off game, Dragon Quest Rocket Slime, the weird goofy Zelda-like game with tank battles. That game rules. And it's the second game in a trilogy, and the only game in that trilogy we got, which I'm a little bit salty about. But
they're doing their best.
Yeah. They were unsure about how much Dragon Quest to localize in this era. I think Square Enix published 4 and 5, and then Nintendo published 6 and 9. And 6's localization was a little bit late because of the handoff, and it's not always easy to pin down the new versions of those, because I think some of them got limited releases, either 5 or 6 or both. But they're really, really good, and maybe the definitive versions of each of those games. The Dragon Quest V has a lot of new content and doesn't look as pretty as the PS2 version, but you have 4 characters in your party instead of 3, which is the worst part of original Super Famicom Dragon Quest V. Have any of you guys played any of the Dragon Quest DS games?
I played DQ9.
You can't play it the same way ever again, because that game had a lot of online features, and DS Online is dead, unfortunately.
Requiescat in pace.
Okay, Ezio, calm down.
I played 5, 6, and 9. I have 4, but I haven't touched it. It's been sitting in my case waiting to be played.
I have all of them on my backlog.
I have all of them, and perhaps unsurprisingly, I've played all of them. We even played Dragon Quest V for the podcast 2 years ago, and that was me replaying the DS version. But these are the best or almost the best versions of each of those games, at least 4, 5, and 6. And I think they're all strong Dragon Quest games, although 5's my favorite, and I would probably call 6 the weakest of the 3. But they're good if you're at least Dragon Quest curious. And the and there's a lot of spin-offs. Dragon Quest Monsters, people love the DS Joker game, but I am not into that series deeply at all.
What's the big gimmick with Joker compared to the actual mainline?
Oh no, I think it's just the continuation of the main line. But the Dragon Quest Monsters games are you recruit and collect monsters, level them up in their own classes, and then fuse them with other monsters to create more powerful ones.
It's
Pokemon
Megami Tensei.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, it's Pokemon with fusion, and a lot of monsters that were only in one Dragon Quest game, or ones that are unique to the Dragon Quest Monsters sub-series. I didn't get deeply into the DS ones though. For the last one I played.
They're bringing that series back though, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
They made an announcement with Eric. Yeah.
Yeah.
They announced a new Switch one.
Yeah, there's a Switch one coming, and I think they did 3DS remakes of the Game Boy Color ones. So they've always those might be Japan only though.
We didn't get those, unfortunately.
Yeah, that series has been going pretty strong since 1998, but it's basically Dragon Quest Pokemon, and it's not Pokemon. I'm not going to say it's I don't love the Dragon Quest Monsters sub-series, but there were some good ones in the DS.
I'm into the concept because just monster collecting is my jam.
Mm-hmm.
But
the DS was really good to the Pokemon series as well. So
we got 3 generations, or 2.5 generations on the DS.
Yeah.
And Heart Gold, Soul Silver are still some of the highlights of the series. I love Gen 5.
Really
I just played Black and I just played white version recently.
I love the main story in Black and White. It's maybe the best Pokemon main story, just because I mean, the twist at the end is strong, and is a great character, and the gimmick of someone wanting to free all Pokemon from captivity is, I think, sort of fun and subversive.
Plus, oh man, that sprite work is just sublime. Like, the Gen 5 sprites look so good.
Yeah, they do. It's great to see how they've gotten so much better at doing that too, compared to the first round, and just slightly better hardware. But no, those games are really pretty. And I'm glad they chose Gold and Silver, because those ones deserve the update. They were really good games.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I hate to say the Game Boy held it back a little bit, but...
you might say it's even the best Pokemon generation, right, Peter?
I think we mathematically proved that was the case.
Indeed, we did.
Was there a big difference between Black and White 2?
Yes.
It's a sequel. It's a new story.
Oh, okay.
Black and White 2 has a really, really good end game. Like, you can do a Pokemon World Tournament and fight every gym leader in Pokemon history up to Gen 5.
Yeah.
And all the champions in Gens 1 through 5. That was fun. And they changed the gimmicks for all of the gyms, and I think that the gyms in Black 2, White 2 are really good. But it doesn't have the main story thrust with N and Getsis and which was that team? That wasn't Team...
Team Plasma was
Plasma.
the
Okay.
Black and White one.
Okay, Plasma
Galactic
was Black and White.
Team Galactic was in Gen 4.
Right. Okay, so Diamond and Pearl was Team Galactic. But yeah, the Black White 1-2 storyline was great, and the Black White 2 gyms and Endgame were great, but they're different games straight up. And and I also played White 2 before playing Black 1, and that was probably a mistake, because they like if you experience Pokemon for the story, then even 1%, then Black White is way better than White 2, than Black 1. Excuse me. Then one is better than 2. Yeah, then one is better. Then the first ones are better than the second ones. But but if you're into sort of Pokemon endgame challenge stuff, then this Black 2, White 2 is better. But going back a generation, I mean, I had a lot of attachment to Diamond and Pearl, because I got Pokemon Diamond right when I started a job as a night watchman, and I played an unbelievable amount of Pokemon sitting in a truck in the dark. And that was around 05, 06, whenever those games came out. But I ended up getting a Pokedex around I think 485 or so, when that generation's dex was 493, and I remember those numbers because that was the last time I got really deep into the collection aspect of Pokemon. And I mean, the storyline and setting isn't great for Gen 4, but I loved that you got online battling and trading in that game.
Finally.
that was astounding at the time, and seems like a requirement now.
Yeah, really.
And of course, I mean, and the follow-ups in Gen 4 to Diamond and Pearl were Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which are, again, maybe the most beloved generation of Pokemon, and an extremely good representation of that.
Mm-hmm. I actually never played any of the Gen 4 games, and at this point, I'm probably just going to hold out for a remake when they do that. Feels like it's going to happen at some point.
I mean, maybe I like Gen 4 is very important to me because of how much I played it, and because I could play it online for the first time. But it's one of the more forgettable generations, setting and story wise.
Yeah.
Even though I love my Chimchar and my Turtwig deeply, but having cute starters isn't enough. There was also that weird Oda Nobunaga Pokemon Conquest game.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that exists a little bit.
Pokemon spin-off's so good.
Pokemon Conquest
never give
was
them a second life sometimes.
Yeah, there was even the Pokemon Rangers spin-off that you needed to play to get a Manaphy, and you bet your ass I played that to get a Manaphy.
The Mystery Dungeon games.
They're really fun.
Yeah, the Mystery Dungeon games, those are a spin-off of the Mystery Dungeon games. They actually started out as Dragon Quest spin-offs, but now they've had a bunch of Pokemon ones over the years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that Pokemon Conquest game was really dope. Like, just the whole idea of you're conquering medieval Japan with Pokemon in a strategy RPG, and it's amazing.
Absolutely, I'm gonna be there.
Oda Nobunaga has a shiny Rayquaza and a Mewtwo.
Oh, yikes! Jeez,
I actually do like it. Seems to spin off like there's a lot of fan art stuff like that where you got they draw Pokemon versions of pop stars and give them a Pokemon that seems suitable. It's just kind of fun to do that.
That is that game is like the video game equivalent of someone's fan art. Yeah.
Someone, totally daydreamed this up, and they have a good enough position in, I guess, Nintendo to pitch it.
They were like, do it.
Yeah, do it.
Fund it.
And that is maybe the most analyzed and studied period of Japanese history. The Nobunaga into Tokugawa stuff is the Warring States Sengoku period is I don't know if revered is the right word, but it's studied to
comes up a lot.
Yeah, it's studied to hell and back in Japan. So if they were to make a historical fiction Pokemon game, that would be the time.
I know Nobunaga is like a boss in Neo. I think he might actually show up in Sekiro somewhere. I don't even know.
Maybe. I mean, he was considered like his thirst to control and unify all of Japan has been sort of considered like the ultimate in conqueror's ambition sort of thing. Like, and there wouldn't be a modern Japan without his ambition, but he was also kind of a monster in trying to do so. So again, he's been studied a lot by Japanese scholars, and I wouldn't even attempt to analyze it in a Pokemon context. But yeah, like, I mean, if you think of the Pokemon universe as having, Pokemon existing as partners with humans throughout, then there would technically be, Pokemon Samurai, Pokemon Industrial Revolution. You could do Pokemon anything, and they went with Sengoku era Japan.
Pokemon Industrial Revolution. That's where the Galaran Weezing came into being, right?
Yeah,
with his little smokestack hat.
Mm-hmm. Smokestack, sure, that's what he looks like.
Well, you know what? Look, these games are for children, so
yes. Sure. But okay, enough about Pokebongs. What else do we have on this list we want to address?
Did any of you guys play, what is it, Solitarobo?
Oh.
I've heard good things about that game, yeah.
I've heard about it. But...
Oh my god, I love this game. Yeah, so I feel like there's two of them, and they just kind of feel similar in style, but there was a Somabringer, which was done by... Wasn't that Monolith Soft?
It was Monolith, yeah, it was.
Yeah, so like one thing I loved about Solitarobo and Somabringer is they used a lot of these hand-drawn graphics, and they kind of did like a very nice cartoony style with it. Again, kind of nicely incorporating 3D models with 2D backgrounds. But both these games were really, really fun. They were pretty like loose, like pretty fast-paced and loose action RPGs actually. But they really develop a really pretty world. They have amazing music and pretty big and epic stories, too. Sadly, we didn't see Somabringer, but I played it through methods. And Solitarobo was like one of the last big things I think XC did for the DS. And same with that. It's really good. I hate to say it, but if you're a furry, then the game will totally win you over because it's all
the main character.
Designs.
Yeah, the main character here is a little bit mascot-esque, but yeah, anthropomorphic animal design.
It's a sequel to Tail Concerto. I mean, that's so weird that they would bring it up again some years later.
And it's developed by CyberConnect, which are the people that did like Dot Hack and a bunch of anime fighting games.
The pedigree actually shows some of which I've played. That game plays. It's a really good game. If you can hunt it down, it's one of those games that is a ridiculously expensive price right now. You might be looking at like $100 for a copy.
Yeah, there's some rare DS games out there.
And it's actually starting to get pretty bad with the 3DS now too. So,
yeah, the ones that had a significant demand and sort of a limited release. That'll happen because I think they're getting better and better about making games more available now, especially since you can get a digital version 90% of the time with a new release. But we were not there yet at all in the DS era.
Yeah.
I just checked out Amazon. It's $329.
Awesome!
Wow.
Awesome. So,
but it's a brand new copy.
But I think whenever we post about Solitarobo on social media, there's always like 30 people that love it. So it's so it definitely had its audience, and it's probably a significant Venn diagram.
It's so underrated. There were so many games that played with such good polish on the DS. Like there was no load times. The action, even if it was simple, just played pretty well. Like they did really good with the very basic control scheme and the dual screens. Like the DS was a hidden gem machine.
Mm-hmm. And because it was so popular. Again, the thing sold 150 million copies worldwide, and also game development wasn't quite as expensive back then.
It also tanked a lot of developers, I feel, because it was also one of the biggest pirated systems, too.
Oh, yeah. I think maybe more than one person in this panel has pirated DS games back in their day.
I don't know what you're talking about, sir.
Damn it.
Hey, I totally bought a copy of Super Princess Peach. Absolutely did. I did not, but
I mean, if Solo Robo is popular enough, maybe it'll get a Switch port. Wink, wink.
Oh my god!
that would
Imagine that.
be-
we are not Switch port begging on this podcast. I apologize.
We are gonna Switch port beg for every single game on this list.
No, we did an entire feature of Switch port begging, so that's enough for now. But here
we got one of them too. We got Xenoblade.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. We got Xenoblade, but Xenoblade Chronicles X when? And we also got Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Anyway, off topic. Directs make me happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
We're just talking about nothing but good news today.
Yeah, then Nintendo can always, energize their flock of sheep just by mentioning a couple games offhand. It's pretty amazing.
It is.
But okay, back to the DS, which we're supposed to be talking about.
Brands.
And speaking of games that got bad Switch ports, how about The World Ends with You? We did
yes.
We did a couple episodes on this podcast in 2016.
Was the Switch port of TWEWY supposed to be bad? I was kind of debating picking it up.
It's not great. It's based on the mobile version, and it's kind of janky. But I mean, if you don't have a DS, that might be the better way to play it over a mobile device.
What if you really did not like how it played on DS?
Maybe this could be for you.
You start going like cross-eyed, but the other way. Where you start looking up and down at the same time. And
I did that thing Bill Skarsgård can do with his eyes in it, where they just go in opposite directions.
It's actually pretty cool when you do get into it, and I remember the game gives you a whole bunch of ways to affect the difficulty, the more kind of icons that you click or something.
Yeah,
I forgot what it was, and you earn better rewards for the harder difficulty. I do love that kind of level scaling stuff.
Yeah, you can equip pins that put more limitations on you, and that'll increase the reward drop rate for rare stuff in the game.
Yeah,
and
it gets pretty intense. Some of the fights at the end are absolute chaos. So it's so weird what you start getting used to with it.
Yeah, and they change your partner character with every chapter. So you have to deal with a new gameplay style every 8 to 10 hours. And and then that messed me up a little bit, especially in Chapter 3, where I think you get the least interesting partner. But the World Ends with You has, I think, some of the most interesting shopping in any RPG that I've played, because it takes its fashion and pin and accessory customization very seriously, and it really wants to capture. I
love the music too. It gives each place a new kind of attitude and a wide range of eclectic music that was kind of in at the time.
I love the
pop,
soundtrack.
rap.
Yeah,
it's fun.
It's got lots of interesting pop and hip hop. They're trying to sort of celebrate the Akihabara district of Japan, or sorry, Akihabara. I'm probably saying it wrong, but the AKB district of Japan. That's sort of very trendy, and also sort of the anime and video game hub of Tokyo. It's a really interesting game. I still don't love it because I think that it's Tetsuya Nomura designs make me involuntarily twitch sometimes. And
that one's pretty Max Nomura too.
Yeah,
it's got these very edgy looking people in it.
It's really, really Nomura. Mm-hmm.
What is it? Neku's wearing a giant sleeveless turtleneck or something like that.
I don't know. I'd have to check an image for reference.
With zippers.
He's got He's got big headphones that are about the size of his head.
Yeah, Shiki is the size of a toothpick, around the waist.
Yeah, skinny people with huge hands and shoes with unusual fashion choices. That's Nomura too.
But I remember I did love the enemy design where it kind of merges animals with tattoo artistry.
That was
kind of tribal.
Really neat looking. Yeah.
Tattoo. Yeah. So it actually looked really interesting.
Yeah, they're noise. So is what they're officially called, I think. So there's kind of like cave paintings. With sort of jagged sound frequencies with normal items like animals or people. It was a really interesting game, but I think that the audio and visual design and then the unusual dual screen gameplay is what's really important about that. So that's The World Ends with You. We did 2 episodes on it a few years ago, so you can dig through the archive and
if you can play it, it is really good. I do love for how cold they start the character. He really warms up later, which is
his character development is probably one of my favorites.
I think so.
He's a bit of a jerk at first, and
he's a big pisshead at first, and then he actually really opens up and kind of helps other people with their problems.
He's a little squall.
Yeah, basically. The whole game is weird, man. It's one of the few games that I've played 4 times, and I forget the storyline 5 minutes after I beat it completely. It's gone.
It's all the time compression, man.
No, it's releasing.
I just remember fighting some hockey players.
It's implanting Guardian forces in your brain, and they're taking up your memory.
Everyone's got GF problems, man.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But really, the one true GF is Norg.
Okay, that game is not on the DS, so we are not going to discuss that much further here. What's another game on our list that we should bring up?
We want to talk about bad character designs. We should talk about the Devil Survivor games. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, really good games with terrible art.
Okay, I actually really do like that artist. Durarara is a cool series, and their art is, if nothing else, very distinctive. But the one girl in both Devil Survivor games, the main girl has like boobs filled with helium that are like pointing to the stratosphere.
They look up.
It's like that is.
If you're drowning.
The character art in those games is their own bag of tricks.
It's got great style, yeah, but then like this one giant thing really sticks out.
But I mean, as games, they aren't bad. I only played the 3DS remake of the first one for a little bit, but it's a pretty competent strategy RPG with SMT flavor in it.
Oh, Devil
Survivor.
Survivor.
Does it follow like a whole Doomsday idea, I guess?
Yeah, it's a Doomsday idea, and there's some choice involved. Like, do you side with this character or that character, or travel to this point or that point?
Multiple endings and everything too.
Yeah, I think so. It's I never finished the one I played, although I did put some time into it.
Yeah, I think there's multiple routes and endings.
Yeah, and then the 3DS adds the eighth day scenarios, which expand on the story for depending on which route you go for. Devil Survivor 2 is awesome because it's basically Shin Megami Tensei Evangelion. Like, your characters join a clandestine organization and fight these weird geometric eldritch monstrosities that are coming from space.
I'm playing Astral Chain right now, and I swear that whole plot is lifted from Evangelia. Just change the words around.
Yeah,
it is a big deal, that show.
I don't think you joined that organization in the first one, but there's definitely one of those around. So maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe a bunch of RPGs since 2000 have been ripping off Evangelion.
I mean, Ava's influence is far and wide reaching, but
yeah, really. But so yeah, they got 2 Devil Survivor games. I think it's cool that they changed it into a tactics series.
I'd love for them to get more.
Oh yeah, another one of those would be great. Although they would have to call it something different now because we can't do the DS alliteration that was so famous.
Right.
Yeah, all the Deadly Shadows, Dual Strike nonsense, Dawn of Sorrow. Hey, Dawn of Sorrow, let's talk about Castlevania next.
Yeah, Castlevania's awesome.
Yeah,
there were some great Castlevanias on the DS.
Yeah,
Order of Ecclesia is one of my favorites.
Yeah, we had a pretty good run of those Igarashi Castlevania games in the GBA and DS. The first GBA one wasn't him, but I sort of concluded in the lineup anyway. However you number them, we had 3 Castlevania games in the DS that were all at least pretty good. I mean, my favorite's probably Order of Ecclesia, but just because Shinoa's a boss and you actually get more than one setting in that game. But they're all pretty good. I mean, Portrait of Ruin does the Mario 64 jumping into paintings thing to artificially inflate the size of the space you explore. But it's all 3 of those are good, and I don't know how hard they are to find anymore.
I think Order of Ecclesia is fairly easy to find. Like I thought, last I checked, at least, I still see copies floating around used game stores. Not so sure about the other 2. I think they might have been on the Wii U eShop, but your mileage may vary on that one.
Yeah, they did have DS games appear on that thing a couple times.
Yeah, it was the emulation they used was a little wonky because basically you'd have like the bottom screen on the touchpad, and then and then the main screen was like on the television. I don't know. It was kind of bizarre.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you had to do some real like fourth dimensional it was like remember Star Fox Zero? It was like that. We were going from gamepad to TV like all the time.
I'm so sad that Star Fox Zero failed as a concept. I wanted it to come back. They even had good Star Fox game on the DS. I know it's totally out of our wheelhouse right now, but I mean,
is that Star Fox Assault?
Command.
Oh, Command. I don't know. I think there's only one good Star Fox game, and it was for the N64.
Oh, that one's hard to beat.
But sticking back to Castlevania, the dual screen functionality mostly was just having a map on the opposite screen for you. You did map and menu stuff on the bottom screen. but like there was the weird glyph drawing system in Dawn of Sorrow, and but yeah, like I think you could probably do that more easily than some other DS games on the Wii U emulation, because like it wasn't a deeply dual screen interactive game the way The World Ends With You was. Yeah, I really liked the run of Castlevania games on DS, and that was sort of like the last gasp of those 2D ones, if you don't count Harmony of Despair on digital systems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, probably not.
Yeah, Harmony of Despair is it was an earnest multiplayer attempt that didn't really work.
I played it and had a few good nights with it, and then I ditched it. God, it's hard to believe that was already so long ago.
Yeah, that had to be.
And
that
then
was
they
at
got
least
weirdly
a decade
experimental.
ago.
They did the Castlevania fighting game, which was just a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, Castlevania Judgment, which has some pretty some pretty excellent remixes of Castlevania music, but some character designs that were awful and gameplay that was somehow worse. I own a copy of that game.
What sucks is I love that artist, Takeshi Obata. He did Death Note, he did Hikaru no Go, all this good stuff. And then Simon Belmont looks like Light Yagami with a six-pack.
Yeah. Just seeing him on the cover like that, and you go from the really kind of formal and regal designs from the previous games to that, and it's just like, ooh, they swung and they missed.
Hey, Sakurai, can you license that out as a skin for Simon in Smash Ultimate? Just for the lulz.
Now I'm
glad I remember people wanted them to do that for the Mega Man. Oh no, they had the junky Mega Man in in Street Fighter versus Tekken, was it?
Yeah, in Street Fighter in Street Fighter Cross Tekken, there was box art Mega Man was a character.
Oh yeah.
and so was Pac-Man riding like a little mecha suit, like a Magitech armor or something. That game was not a high point of Capcom fighting games, let's just say.
There
was
were
a really weird limbo moment for a few developers, I think, around that era too.
Yeah,
the whole Japanese game industry kind of went through a weird bit in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, that would have been late 2000s, early 2010s. When Street Fighter Cross Tekken came out, but yeah, Capcom was still figuring stuff out.
Where's Tekken X Street Fighter, Capcom? We're still waiting.
People still ask Harada about that, and he's I don't think he's allowed to say they aren't working on it anymore.
Right.
But whatever. Akuma is in Tekken 7, and so is Geese Howard and Noctis somehow.
And Negan. Don't forget Negan.
Oh, I've already forgotten Negan.
Oh, come on. He's Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
That show stopped being good like 4 seasons ago.
It's not a good show, but he's a great actor. There were some good Mega Man RPGs on the DS, like the Star Force series.
Those were those good?
Well, they have their
perfectly
fans.
Adequate.
They have their fans. They were not nearly as good as Battle Network.
Yeah,
they were kind of disappointing follow-ups.
They were follow-ups to Battle Network, and I was under the impression that Battle Network was much more well liked than Star Force. I tried a bunch of Mega Man games on the DS, the Star Force games and ZX and ZX Advent, and I was pretty disappointed by all of them. But I'm a Mega Man snob, so maybe I'm not the best source for this.
Yeah, no, I like his design in those games, but.
The Star Force?
In Star Force, yeah, I kind of like how Mega Man looks in that game.
And I think
Capcom has really good designers, even when I don't think they're a big hit. They just know what they're doing.
And I think wasn't that game sort of a triple tiered with its versioning? Like instead of having a red version and a blue version, they had 3 versions of stuff.
Yeah, I think they did. That which is weird, right? It's like, oh yeah, you get the complete experience. You have to buy the game 3 times.
Well, okay, that's very Fire Emblem Fates of them. But I haven't.
That was a good.
I didn't go too far into those, just enough to be disappointed, and then give away my copy or try to sell back my copy. But let's talk about a classic character adapted into RPGs, but much more successfully. There were 2 Mario RPGs on the DS. They were both follow-ups to Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga for the GBA. And the first one was Partners in Time, and it was okay. And the second one was Bowser's Inside Story, and that one was excellent. So, unsurprising. I
really want to get the 3DS one of that so badly.
Yeah. Superstar Saga and Bowser's Inside Story got 3DS remakes, and Partners in Time didn't, and no one complained.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue that Partners in Time needs the fixes the most, but
I didn't think that was that much effort.
I would say that'd be a lot of work to make that game fun.
What was the big issue with it? Like, was it just enemy
It's too
sponges?
It's too complicated.
Yeah, they overcomplicated it in that in Superstar Saga had sort of everything be controlled by A and B with one brother to each button. And in Partners in Time, you also have Baby Mario and Baby Luigi riding piggyback, and their actions are all controlled with X and Y. So you're controlling 4 characters at once, and each of them have their own button. And sometimes it gets a little too complicated.
Yeah, on paper it sounds like a good idea, but in execution it was just a lot more inputs than you wanted to be making.
Yeah, it felt awesome in Superstar Saga, and just like too much of Partners in Time. But the one part of Partners in Time that was awesome was that the 2 brothers and 2 babies fight a boss battle against Bowser and Baby Bowser, and it's that battle's like the best implementation of all of their of all of these mechanics, and it's sort of adorable that Bowser and Baby Bowser don't realize they're the same person. Like, Baby Bowser just thinks that Bowser's a big jerk, and Bowser thinks Baby Bowser's just a little jerk. But it's
a little jerk.
Yeah, Bowser
Jr.'s
Bowser Jr.'s like parentage is the greatest mystery of the Mario universe.
No arguments here.
What did Peach do?
Well, the answer is either Bowser or someone else is the mother.
We know Princess Daisy was born from an egg, according to a early 90s movie.
Yeah, we also know the brothers are from Brooklyn, according to Mario is missing. So
and Mario's full name is Mario.
This rabbit hole goes really deep, and we can't ask Bob Hoskins anymore.
Yeah, Peter, you and I even recorded the podcast. We did determine that the 1993 Super Mario Brothers film is the best Super Nintendo RPG.
It absolutely is. Yes, you are correct.
With that star power, I could totally see that.
Available now for Nintendo Switch Online. Subscribe today. But this is in no way a sponsored podcast.
I wish it was. I'd love to get paid for all the hours that I put into this thing.
Right?
I love when we get accused of it too. I'm just like, I wish.
People accuse of us of taking money. It's like, really, please, we can get money somehow.
Yeah.
I absolutely can be bought. If like I don't know, like this could be a Jimmy John's podcast if they give me one sandwich a week until further notice.
Oh God, I've had enough Jimmy John's just for my entire life.
Well, guess what? I haven't. So Jimmy John's, balls in your court. Anyway, both of those DS games were pretty good. Again, Bowser's Inside Story is much more fun than Partners in Time. You jump inside Bowser and like punch his pituitary gland to turn him into a giant, and then have giant Bowser fights. And the humor is pretty hysterical in those games with all the Globins. And Peter, your boy Fawful, features prominently in that game.
Yeah, Fawful, the greatest video game character ever conceived by humans.
Obviously.
I love him so much. He's so fun.
RPG villains, Fawful. Coming soon.
One game I didn't think we talked about last time was the Professor Layton series.
That's right.
I haven't played any of those.
Oh boy, Peter.
Them.
Oh boy.
I haven't either.
Well, okay.
They're the exact thing I needed them to be, and they're perfect for it. They have a gorgeous style, and it's just a big old puzzle visual novel kind of game.
And also, the professor is a true gentleman in a world of people claiming to be gentlemen when they are not.
It's so true.
That's cute.
There's 6 Professor Layton main series games plus an anime movie that actually ties into the 6th game, amazingly. But the first 4 of them were on DS, and it's sort of 2 trilogies. There's the first trilogy, and then the 4th DS game, and 2 3DS games make the second trilogy. And they recently are bringing it back with these Catriel games, where she's the professor's niece, I think. But remaining in the DS world, those first 3 Professor Layton games are awesome. They are...
All 3 of them have great stories, too.
The stories...
Like a big, overarching mystery to solve. They're all far-fetched, but there's a lot of fun in between.
They're completely insane. Like, imagine a Scooby-Doo plot going to unbelievable, like, steampunk technology lengths, and then you're starting to get an idea.
Imitation French animation.
Yes. It's imitating this sort of very... like very sort of rounded edges, warm colors, French animation, like Triplets of Belleville or something.
Yeah.
But it just looks really gorgeous. It's developed by Level 5, who do a lot of good work and a lot of good animation. But those first 3 Professor Layton games, Curious Village, Diabolical Box, and Unwound Future.
Unwound
Future. That's it. Yeah. The third one's Unwound Future is my favorite.
It's the best. It's hard too. The puzzles in that one stump me a lot.
Oh my! The puzzles get consistently harder with each game. It's a little unfair. By the time you get to the 5th or 6th one, you're just like,
no game makes.
Oh my God!
spend like half an hour on a puzzle only to find out like it was a trick question.
Yeah, and like, or just the sliding puzzles in there get borderline waterboarding at times. Oh my god.
Oh god, and they tell you like how many minimum moves you can do it in.
It's like you could do this in 7 moves if you're not an idiot. And I'm like, I'm at 7.
Yeah,
moves.
the amount of times I got the hints, I was starting to make myself sad. Like, oh jeez.
Yeah,
I just want to know what the diabolical box is.
You do get coins that you find, and you can use the coins to unlock hints. And sometimes 1 or 2 hints is exactly what I need to do a puzzle. But sometimes it's just like, I'm going to go onto the Professor Layton blog that has every step mapped out for me. But yeah, those games are great. I want Professor Layton in Smash, unironically. I think
that'd be so cool.
Yeah, he'd be a really cool choice. And just like, I don't know, between the characterizations and the animation and the voice acting, it's a very cuddly game in a good way. Like, it just makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Aw.
They still talk about pretty mature things. Like, there's this sort of weird kind of heartbreak and sadness almost in each of the games.
Yes.
I can't describe that, but I swear they have moments that'll really, really tug at your heart.
There's moments of like, you sort of look at the plot of the game, and the plots always take completely absurd paths. But then you think of the profound loneliness or the deep or like the heart behind a certain character, and you're just like, oh man, this is sad. This is tragic. And I didn't even mention the 7th Layton game. There's a Layton versus Phoenix Wright game for the 3DS.
Oh right.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Oh right, indeed.
Wasn't that one not very good?
It's okay.
It's pretty good. It does neither of their thing the best,
yes,
but it's still a really cool mashup.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, okay.
It does both of their things, but neither of them as successfully as the base games. And the witch trials that replace the Phoenix Wright lawyer segments have Professor Layton puzzly parts to them, which is interesting. But again, not as good as the original Layton trilogy, which I think is the real standout, are those first 3 Layton games. Although I liked the 6th one as well. The Azran Legacy was a good cap off to the series, but those first 3
did good for that one.
Yeah, the 3DS was good on those, and the animations look
they get
even better.
even like a professional, like some sort of like professional puzzle maker or something like that.
No, there's a legendary Japanese puzzle maker who's been writing puzzle children's books for decades or something, and he's the he's the puzzle maestro for the whole series since the beginning.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I'd have to look up his name, but it was like the original news bite in 2005 or whatever was, some famous Japanese puzzle maker is teaming up with Level 5 to make a puzzle game for the DS, and it ended up being, we're like maybe 10 titles in now. I've lost count.
Like, I love puzzles, so Layton is basically everything I want. Like, if I had a stripper name, it'd be Puzzles, you know?
All right.
All right, that's a quote. I'm quoting that out of context.
Okay, I'm definitely not cutting that from the podcast. So puzzles. What's another item on this list that we should talk about?
Oh, we could always mention the actual like Phoenix Wright games.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
segued into.
Those
were all fantastic.
I almost did segue into, and then now let's re-segue into them. We had 4 Ace Attorney main series Ace Attorney games in the DS, plus the first Miles Edgeworth game worldwide, and the second one Japan only. And the creator of Ace Attorney also did a pretty cool DS adventure game called Ghost Trick, sort of in between some of the big Ace Attorney releases. But and we should mention the first 3 Ace Attorney games, which are Gyakuten Saiben in Japan, Comeback Courtroom or Turnabout Courtroom. They were originally GBA games. They got remade with a lot of good touchscreen interface for the DS. They're basically adventure games with lawyer puzzles, and they are so much fun. I love them. I don't think there's really a bad one.
It's got such a dorky sense
quite
of humor.
clever.
Like, it's so fun, yeah.
Yeah, like the snappy reactions, animations, and the sense of humor. And
I love the way the screen shakes, because everybody's always yelling in that game, so the fact they actually found a good visual way to represent that is so fun to read things.
Takashi Miike did an Ace Attorney movie based on basically the first 4 cases of the first game.
It's awesome.
It's completely insane. But where it loses something is that where Phoenix Wright is always sweating and like in despair, and people are doing these insane reactions. They don't have the same impact with real actors. It's just the Phoenix Wright actor just looks constipated whenever he's despairing. Whenever he's just despairing about a decision. But it's the whole
thing with like Disney doing Lion King, right? Like the cartoons are just so much more expressive.
Oh boy,
yeah.
I don't want to talk about Disney remakes on a podcast. I love the Ace Attorney series. We did a whole podcast episode on it last year. bringing back music staff Steven and Bridget for that episode. That was a lot of fun talking to them. But these games are so funny and snappy and have a unique tone and some really banging music.
Usually the final case really does manage to make you pretty tense. Like
the drama, the final case
really
of every
bring out
game,
their guns, yeah.
exactly. Has amazing drama in the finale to each of those games every time. Even the ones that I think are sort of below average, like the first Apollo Justice game, which is Ace Attorney 4, is I think sort of okay, maybe below average for the first few cases, but then the final.
I love Apollo Justice.
But the final case is amazing. I think the final case annihilates the rest of that game.
Yeah, that one is really good. I never understand why people really hate on Apollo Justice. I even love Hobo Phoenix. Like he's so
I love
cool.
Hobo Phoenix.
I think Ace Attorney 4 is below average, except for the Clavier brothers in the final case. But all of these
air
are good.
guitaring.
Yeah. Is that one Christoph or?
That's Christoph. Yeah.
It's two lawyer brothers. One of whom is a rock star, and one of whom is an evil mastermind. It's pretty great. But the Ace Attorney games are great. But I think maybe one game I like maybe even more than all 7 of those is Ghost Trick.
It never got the love it deserved.
I adore Ghost Trick. It's by the Ace Attorney creator, and it's about a poltergeist who solves murders and who prevents other murders from happening by doing poltergeist tricks to save people from from gunshots or discovery by an attacker or something. And it's
we say it every time. But if you own a pet, you owe it to yourself to play this game. It is available on mobile.
I think it might be available to more than just DS by now. I'm not sure. I have to do some extra research. But but there is pet owners is a must play for pet owners because there's a very, very good dog named Missile in this game, and also a very good cat that's in the second part of the game. But it is an unusually.
Yes, it's on iOS, so yes, everyone can and should play it.
And that's good, and it's smart that it's. I bet it would be great on iPad because there's a lot of really, really clever touchscreen interface in this game. But you're basically a poltergeist trying to solve your own murder and prevent other murders from happening, and it has an unbelievable tone and sense of humor that fits with the Ace Attorney games. But it's its own unique brand of that, and it's again it's like a top 3 DS game for me. I adore Ghost Trick. It's a must play.
The animations are so much fun too. Like they had a great time animating every aspect of that. Again, it's got that low poly 3D, but it's so good.
There's these 2 cops that do comedy routines, and the one exaggerated cop has unbelievable animations. And just the way people hang up the phone or
it'll
flail
slam
around
and bounce a bit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Everything has to slam and bounce.
like all simple movements and animations just have sort of big impact in this game.
That one detective dude, he does a swinging move every time he comes in. And his scarf whips around him too.
Yeah, he moonwalks into scenes and does some Michael Jackson moves and it gives his says what his solution is and then moonwalks out. It's great. It's a really, really stylish, cool game with really unique puzzles. I should replay that thing because I've only played Ghost Trick once and I just don't want to ruin any part of the experience by re-examining any of it. But whatever. Ghost Trick is amazing and maybe the best game we've talked about on this whole podcast so far.
Speaking of preventing deaths,
what
about preventing 9 and or 8 deaths? In 9 hours.
999 is freaking brilliant.
Yeah, we did.
I love 999.
We did 2 episodes on 999 last year. It was a tremendous amount of fun, and that game is awesome. I'm really glad that you can get it on almost any platform now. There's a PS4, PC, and mobile versions of 999 now. I think
they're fortunately keeping that game alive on as many platforms as possible.
Yeah,
they've even tweaked it. They've added voices in high quality
That's right.
models. I think.
Yeah, and the Sony version had better models and voice work, while the DS version had no voice work. And it's just an amazing visual novel. Holy crap! And the follow up, Virtue's Last Reward, which was on 3DS and Vita, and now other systems, might even be better.
That's a game when you finish it, your jaw is just kind of hanging there.
Well, I had to process it. I had to lie down and think about it. I was just like, oh.
I think they might still have it, but I think Spike Chunsoft still has a massive Q&A with Uchikoshi just to kind of break down literally everything that he's thought about for it. So yeah, it starts you off in a sinking bunker or something, and basically after that the entire plot just never actually stops, and it's very strange. It's got great pseudoscience, a lot of fun puzzle solving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The characters
Great
are all
characters.
very intricate. Yeah. They're all a little bit screwed up too, so it's kind of fun to see how everyone devolves in a literally sink or swim situation.
The way the plot just escalates is so great because, like,
oh God, yeah,
it
it
starts
knows how to
off-
throw
yeah.
creepy stuff at you too.
It does. Oh yeah, no, like there are moments in that game that are legitimately shocking.
Yeah, Virtue's last reward like gave me like chills a few times for that kind of stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
You
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
there's a few moments where, or like a few of it's a multi-branching ending thing, and like a few of the endings just leave you on the biggest downer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The knife ending and the axe ending are real dark.
Oh, that
and
axe
there's-
ending was just awesome and terrifying.
And just you were talking, you mentioned moments that are a little grisly. Like there's just, I mean, one of the characters on the cover is murdered in the first hour of the game, and there's moments of like discovering bodies and just some really chilling scenes.
Yeah, there really is some real
There are several
Saw
body
crap
discovery
going on.
moments, yeah, that are all just freaky and weird.
Dun 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 dun.
Oh God,
The music
in
in
that game is so cool.
is dope, and I found out this recently, but it's the same guy who did like the in-game music for Xenosaga 2.
Oh,
Yeah, he's upped his game since then a lot.
cool.
But more-
Audra, you usually finished playing AI, right?
Yes.
Which, yeah, same thing. It kind of gives you a lot to process, I think.
Yes, it does. I'm not sure if I
Just
can
what he
say
does.
more.
yeah, I don't know how
No,
much we
it's
can talk
okay,
about this
but-
now, but I'm excited
But like, this
for
is
AI.
just what Uchikoshi does. So if you're looking for especially for people who do play for story, like there is a really good one here. And if people keep bragging about it, please take them up on it and just see why.
Yeah, Zero Time Dilemma is it's a third game.
Now I'm mad
It
at
is
myself.
it is very fun in the moments, and I think you should play it if you enjoyed the other two. But it is not as good.
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember
It's
if
nice to put a wrap on everything. And again, it still had a few of those like chillingly awful moments where I'm just like,
Oh, yeah.
oh my God.
Oh yeah, no, I had moments where I legitimately like yelled like "What the bleep" out at something, but and it was like 3 a.m., so that was probably not fortunate for everyone around me. I was staying up really late to finish that game.
I have stayed up late to finish each of those games for whatever reason. It always seems to happen very late at night, and the endings are all really creepy. And so then I'm just kind of sitting there in bed with my eyes open, thinking about.
Oh, that's the best atmosphere. That's the best time to play like spooky.
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
When I finished my first run of Man of Medan recently, and that game too, same deal. It's just like, oh, well, this is spooky, and it's 2 p.m. and 2 a.m. and I might as well just finish this.
Do those things on a beautiful Sunday morning. I need it to be night and evil looking outside.
The atmosphere has to fit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hit all the lights.
I could never watch Hannibal in the daytime. It has to be like spooky and nighttime outside.
Yeah, it
I
enhances
love
the
that show.
atmosphere to play those games in the dark, whether it's survival horror or visual novel horror. Like I wouldn't call 999 visual novel horror, but it's visual novel puzzle with some sci-fi horror elements.
There's definitely horror elements.
Thriller elements maybe. But speaking of visual novels, there was 2 really good ones released on the DS, but I've only played the first one. Audra, I think you mentioned to me you played both, Hotel Dusk and Last Window.
Yes.
Oh, I love
Right. I love Hotel Dusk, especially for the hand drawn art and for the really cool noir story and good puzzles, and also that you have to hold the DS sideways like a book.
Yeah, it has
So
some really good
cool.
elements to it.
When that game came out, I really loved it. The central mystery is great. The characters have a lot of personality. I had a lot of fun playing that, and I was sure that it was going to be just a golden age of adventure games on the DS. For years
I
and years.
genuinely move on from like studios closing down, but I don't move on from Sing closing down because I love
Yeah.
what they did.
Yeah, that's a bummer that they aren't around in the same form as they were for these 2 games. But I loved Hotel Dusk, and Last Window was a
It's
sequel.
got that like awesome kind of gritty, 80s detective noir style.
Right,
It's got your ex-cop with a mystery that he never solved, and it takes all the tropes, but it puts them together in a very nice package.
Yeah, Kyle Hyde is just a great character, and he's the main character of both Hotel Dusk and Last Window. And
It's weirdly fun to watch be miserable to everybody.
yeah, in the first one, I mean, he's definitely grumpy, and he's He's basically following a lead from his former detective partner who disappeared years ago, and that uncovers this sort of like an art theft, art conspiracy. which is central to Hotel Dusk. And then in Last Window, he's basically following the same trail. But I haven't played Last Window. It did not get a North American release. It did get a European release in English, though. So it's a very, very logical import. Audra, did you import it?
Yes, I did.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, it was pretty good. Quite
I
liked
love
it.
that one.
I
Yeah,
thought it was
like,
a good follow-up.
Yeah, I think it basically like 95% wraps everything up at least. So there was still a little bit of open room at the end, which I don't know.
Yeah.
I gotta check prices on that thing because I would be
want
genuinely
that.
interested in revisiting it.
Yeah. I think I mentioned it last time too, but I do love the style that they did for all the characters and how they got it to look so realistic. Was that they actually hired actors to pose and model, and they just rotoscoped right on top of it.
Yeah, they rotoscoped it like the.
So everything feels very like lifelike in the gestures and movements, and it kind of helps you absorb it in a little bit better, since it is supposed to be a real life, kind of modern day Earth story.
That reminds me a little bit of the movie Waking Life, which is Richard Linklater, who's a very well regarded director, and basically the entire movie is just interviews and dialogues between people who performed it in live action and then had it animated over with rotoscoping. It's a really, really awesome movie. And Steven Soderbergh and Ethan Hawke and a bunch of people are actors in it. But one actor who I don't want to mention is now a very, very unpleasant political activist, which is really weird. It's like, this guy was in Waking Life. I love Waking Life. What the hell's going on? The rotoscope animation in Hotel Dusk looks really great, and with the sort of pencil drawn animation over it, looks awesome. I love that game.
Yeah.
So we're near the end of the list here. What else do we want to definitely talk about before we close up?
We got to mention Radiant Historia before we go.
Oh yeah, and Golden Sun Dark Dawn. I swear to God, I think I'm the only person who really liked that game.
That game, I mean, okay, that does not have nearly as much good story stuff as the first two Golden Sun games, but it does preserve I was going to say heavy dungeons, which I know is something you love, but it's. I just
told you my stripper name.
Okay, puzzles. Okay, Dark Dawn. I didn't finish Dark Dawn. I thought that the Golden Sun games were pretty good, maybe a little overrated. There's a reason I didn't want to be on the Golden Sun podcast a year ago, but Dark Dawn even felt like it had, I don't know, less interesting characters than the first two. I mean, it does have pretty good puzzles in those dungeons, but I mean,
it gives you a fully fledged like RPG, 3D RPG, and I think they did a really good job nailing that down. And it's got the mind reading skill again. So I mean,
that's right.
They also the last big Final Fantasy Tactics game came out on the DS, didn't it?
Yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics A2 was a DS game. It stars Russo or Lusso.
Lusso,
I think.
Yeah, I think they meant to say Russo, but ended up landing on Lusso. But and he's also a side character in the War of the Lions remake of Final Fantasy Tactics. And a lot of people really like Final Fantasy Tactics A2, but I don't know why I didn't get to it. I guess I was playing other stuff at the time. I haven't played it. I haven't played a single.
It doesn't have quite the same like emotional gut punch the first Tactics Advance has. Yeah. But it's mechanically it's a pretty improved sequel.
Mm-hmm. And it has the race and job system that's in those Evil East games. That's pretty good a lot of the time. That was like job tinkering was my favorite part of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
I loved the Gladiator class.
That was a sort of a hard hitting Amalja and human class, right?
Yeah,
I think so. Sounds right. I have to look it up.
Yeah. Oh, Strange Journey. I don't think we talked about that one.
Oh yeah, we talked about Devil Survivor, but not Strange Journey. That also had
that one was so cool and weird too. My God, there's really cool and weird games on that system. But yeah, that one is phenomenal.
Yeah, I love the fact that they basically took huge cues from John Carpenter's The Thing and made a Megaten game out of it. And it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's straight up set at a research lab in Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. They did a really good job, kind of building up that entire world, though, and kind of all the characters. All Shin Megami Tensei games are really good at that one, but I don't know. Strange Journey basically aptly describes it.
Yeah, you have to put on
I love the demon thing that comes with you.
Yeah, and you have to put on anti-demon hazmat suits to jump into a portal that appeared in this research station in Antarctica, and it's a little dungeon crawly compared to other dungeon crawly SMT games, but it's a really good version of one of those. I haven't played it very much. I only played the beginning of the original DS version, but it definitely has its fans.
Was the 3DS remake of that one any good? Did anyone play that?
I did.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I got the new ending.
Okay. I ask because the 3DS version of another Atlas DS game I really enjoy, Radiant Historia, is terrible. Well, terrible's overstating it. I think
You said it just kind of like it took a pretty cool ambiguous ending and kind of really, really neatly tidied it up.
Yeah,
with a magical girl.
Yeah, basically Atlas's magical girl, which is their favorite trope. They do it in every single one of their re-release games.
Yeah, they had one in Strange Journey too.
Every single time, I don't get it.
I want a magical boy.
Soul Hackers already had a magical girl in it, so the remake didn't need to add one.
And it had a dolphin.
Yes,
dolphin.
Soul Hackers is weird. Shout out to Rob Fenner, who's Soul Hackers'
Best
number
thing
one
about
fan.
Soul Hackers is the opening.
It does have a cool opening.
Song.
I thought Nemissa was really cool in that game.
I like Nemissa.
Yeah, like she's a cool character, but the rest of the game isn't a quite fully formed SMT game yet. But it's not bad. But the Radiant Historia remake did some character design changes that I don't appreciate. But the base game of what Radiant Historia is a pretty great time travel RPG.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's kind of got this like kind of political intrigue, morally gray plot that I really enjoy. It's one of the better examples of an apocalyptic storyline in JRPGs because the world is literally ending, turning to sand, and people are at war for the remaining resources, and the main character is basically an assassin, and it's pretty cool. Like it's a neat setup, and the music has got this great it's a Shimomura score. It's one of my favorites. It's got this great melancholy tone. Yeah, the original Radiant Historia on DS is like one of the best games on the system. It's highly, highly recommended.
I love that 3x3 battle system too. The way you can pull enemies on a single grid and you put them all at the same time.
Exactly, you pull enemies together until they're all like in just one giant ball of monsters, and then you nuke that ball by dragging them into a trap or zapping them with a special attack. It's a really unique mechanic. And the main character isn't even that powerful. He's just good at push-pulling into his much stronger allies' attacks.
I liked him too as a lead. Like he was actually a very competent and smart character. And I swear, sometimes I don't know why. Sometimes for a while, games really lost their teeth with their protagonists. They were just like the dumb, naive, kind of happy.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Kid.
What do you mean? A while ago? It's still going on. It's like in a way of making the main character non-threatening or likable, they make him sort of toothless and goofy. But Stock was he was a soldier, and he was capable, and he was a sort of get stuff done kind of guy, which I appreciate.
It's actually a game too with a very solid script. Like it does have a few quotable moments.
I should replay that thing because I don't think I ever got the best ending in the DS version, but I kind of don't want to replay it on 3DS because I've heard about some of the negative changes it makes. And again, I don't like the redesigns.
It's one of those things. I've been torn about picking up the remake myself, but I know what happens. You can buy the original art as for $2.
What?
But it only changes it in the dialogue portraits, not in the menus.
Huh.
And didn't it come with a bubblegum pop song to
but it has this weird It has this weird bubblegum anime intro that does not fit the tone of that game at all. The happy ending is too much of a resolution, and I also really don't like and if you get one of the other endings from the original version, you get a little pop-up saying, well, don't you think you could do better? Do you want to find out the real story? And I hate that because the ambiguous ending in the original game is one of the best parts of it. Exactly.
That's a little bit too pointed. Like in the movie Clue, at the very end when it says, well, here's how it really happened, and they give you the last ending. That's funny and satirical. This is them...
This is not that type of game.
No, this is them not really... It's not even signposting. It's even like a menu option. Here, play the new ending that we made, where everything's happier. It's like, really?
Yeah, it doesn't fit. And there are a few little tweaks and balances here and there in perfect chronology that will probably make the experience a little easier or more palatable. But I think the DS version is cheaper for one thing, and easier. It's and readily available, so I would recommend play that version. Yeah,
play that version first. I like the art more.
It's
Yeah.
good,
And it's a good time travel story, because I don't know if we've even mentioned this yet. It's a lot of it is sort of working on two parallel timelines and learning and taking what you learn in one timeline to fix things in the other timeline, and then have things sort of coming together at the end. I
love all the bad endings too, where it's
Yeah.
like how
There's a
quickly
bunch
things turn
of
to
them.
crap if you make the wrong choice. It's like what? You don't want to come with me to the grocery store, and then like it just sort of snowballs into the end of the world happening anyway. It gives you like a quick little dialogue dump.
Yeah, it's a good time travel story, and I think let's talk about one more game before we end the episode with a certain other time travel story that you might have heard of. Chrono Trigger had a remake on the DS several years ago, and it's pretty good. It loads faster than the PS1 version. It has new dialogue, for better or for worse, and you can use the cutscenes.
And it had the cutscenes, right?
Yeah, you can toggle them on or off if you want to do the NES version with no cutscenes or the PS1 cutscenes.
Oh, that's neat.
I'm such a flick. I don't like those cutscenes.
They're a bit of a break in the action. So
Yeah.
like sometimes they're great. Like the scene of Frog cutting open the entrance to Mystic Cave is great in both versions. But like I don't know.
They drive me nuts because it's like the epitome of like 90s anime sound effects. Like literally the stuff you heard in every single DBC episode.
I don't know. I kind of love that though. Like if it's
Well,
the
in the-
Toriyama art.
in the DS
I
version,
also have beef when like an opening intro has sound effects. So like I thought it took away from the song a little bit.
well, you can switch them on and off and do them in
And I did.
however and do them however you prefer in the DS version. And the DS
It was
version
the
is also
definitive way to play the game for a while though, and I like that it included maps and terrible new content.
yeah.
I like the
content's-
Chrono Cross tie-in.
The
I like that.
The
I
Chrono
didn't like
Cross
the
tie-in
bonus
is fine. Yeah,
dungeons.
no, there's a new side quest dungeon that was cut from the original version of Chrono Trigger. That's where the Battle 2 and the Mystic Mountain songs were originally put in.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Like maybe not great. But then there's some end game dungeons that are just messy. That the same company that does all of these remakes always puts in some BS end game dungeon, and this is not a good version of one of those.
It's so long.
But it's they're long and drawn out, and I was definitely motivated to find a new final weapon for every character, but it was still a slog dealing with all that. But the even if you're attached to the original Chrono Trigger SNES script like I am, the new translation is still good. It doesn't unmake the old game's translation or anything. But it's like for a while it was probably the best way to play Chrono Trigger. And now that the PC version's fixed, maybe that's better, but I'm not sure.
It is. It's the definitive way to play
Okay,
again.
yeah. The PC version was not the definitive way for a while there, but
Yeah.
but,
Final Fantasy VIII's in that little dugout right now.
people aren't sure what the definitive version of that is because as of recording this, that remake has only been out for a few days.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll read Alana's review of that.
Let my
and-
croaking kind of tell you how I think it looks.
I'm
but-
more concerned about the lack of analog control, but that's a whole other thing.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
All right. Well,
just watched it, yeah.
if this is the second time we've talked about Final Fantasy VIII on the podcast, and I think the podcast is definitely over.
It's not that. We just get sidetracked so nicely.
Curse you, release date proximity.
Now, okay, the release date proximity, you say. So let's spend the next 10 minutes talking about Dragon Quest XI for Switch. All right.
I'm into it. Let's do it right now. I have to.
There's even DS visual version of that you can unlock. Like you can switch between the 3DS visuals and the PS4 visuals on the Switch version,
And it's awesome.
and I'm very intrigued by that. But we are at the end of the episode. Listeners, thank you so much for hearing us jab about DS games for a full 90 minutes. We didn't even get to the Tales games on DS, the Etrian Odyssey series, Lunar Dragon Song, clearly the best game that we didn't talk about. Yep. So yeah, it's bad. Next week we're gonna have, I should say the next 2 weeks we're gonna have episodes in Wild Arms 3. I'm going to record the first of those episodes in less than 24 hours, so I can't tell you how they've gone yet. But those are coming very very soon, and that game, and I've had a lot of fun playing that game for the past few weeks. So yeah, 2 episodes on Wild Arms 3 coming. In October, we're going to have 2 episodes on Grandia, though I don't even know who's going to be on those episodes yet, but that game had a recent re-release on Switch, and I think an upcoming re-release on PC. I'd have to check schedules for that. I don't know exactly when those episodes are going to be in October, but they will be in October. And listeners, if you want to contact us, the best way to do so is to email retro@rpgfan.com. Also, comment on our message boards, visit RPG Fan's Facebook page, Instagram page, Twitter page, Discord channel, Twitch channel.
We are everywhere.
You can find us. There's something streaming on Twitch every day. There's a lot of ways to find us. And Steph,
So play with us. Yeah.
You manage a couple of those social media accounts for us, right?
Yes. Usually if you get responses, it's usually me on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Hit us up. Talk to us. We love it.
Please. And also listen to our other podcasts, Random Encounter, which is going to be off hiatus very soon, and Rhythm Encounter, which will be off hiatus eventually. And please review us or any of our podcasts on iTunes or Google Play or however you are listening to us. We love all the feedback we can provide. And thank you, panel, for joining me on this. This was a bit of a struggle to record because of my audio issues a few weeks ago, but I think we finally got a good discussion out of this. And I'm also glad we forgot to talk about Kingdom Hearts. Thank you, Peter.
It's okay.
It's okay, though.
Days is good. Coded is bad. Just watch the cutscenes on the collection.
All right. Sounds good. But starting with you, Peter, how can listeners reach us directly?
If you want to reach me directly, you can hit me up, peterT@rpgfan.com, or I'm at I Have Fury on Twitter, just like my homeboy Fawful.
And Steph, how about yourself?
You can reach my personal account. It's on Twitter and a few other places as Dice, playing Dice. Sorry, Dice SMS. Take a look. I like drawing pretty pictures, and some of those are usually fan art, so of your favorite games.
And you are a very talented artist, and we are extremely lucky to have you on RPG Fan for real. And Audra, you may not have a DeviantArt account, but how can listeners reach you?
Audra B at rpgfan.com. I don't have a Twitter yet, so.
Oh, you should.
No, you shouldn't. Stay out.
You shouldn't.
Okay.
Stay away from the hell site.
Yeah. Twitter is a hellscape, but I'm addicted to it. So much so that I have 2 Twitter accounts. You can find me at The Real Monsoon most of the time, at Evoker for Dogs other times. I am Monsoon Mike on Discord and Monsoon on RPG Fans forums, and you can email me directly, Sollosi at rpgfan.com. But thank you so much for joining us, listeners and panelists. I will take any opportunity I possibly can to talk about Ghost Trick. I might even give that thing a dedicated episode that's just me monologuing on Ghost Trick, but we'll see. That won't happen anytime soon. But for now, thank you, good night, and good luck.